Okay, so here we are, Monday the 18th. We're a little closer to normal. You can see this is the ditch. We're on the south side of the road here. Last week there was water actively flowing through here across the driveway. Right here where I'm standing, just past the hump, it was rushing through definitely knee-high, potentially mid-thigh. The water was rushing this way. You can actually see here kind of the tracks from the water. Over here, that kind of lump of snow and ice straight out. It's where our garbage can ended up. You can see the striations in the snow here from the water rushing across. You can see here where the water just came around the mound and cut all the snow. This big lump of snow ice was over here in the middle of the driveway. I had to push it over so we could get out. Here you can see pretty much how high the water had come in the front yard because it just cut back all this snow. The snow was drifted out, give or take, to about here. We had a real heavy snow this winter and everything was kind of pushed out. So we cleared the driveway as best we could, and you see here the flow of the water. It just flattened everything. You can see here too, it just pushed everything back. There's some of the backyard. We'll get to that though. Here you can see some branches deposited by our pine tree. We had another area of current through here. You can see how everything is flattened from the rushing water. And out there in the yard, you can see just all those boulders. And the river is way back there. But yet there's big, huge ice chunks because the water was flowing. If you look into the ditch, you can kind of see how high the dirt goes. That's how high the water was flowing. It was probably within maybe a foot of cresting over the highway. That's beyond 500-year flood level. That's like once a millennium, or I don't know, once in recorded history flood levels. But yeah, here you've got just, you can see all the silt. My yard is entirely brown. That's all mud. I mean, here you can kind of see where it transitions from silt to dead grass, and that's all mud out there. You can see here all the silt in the driveway. This snowbank got cut down. Over here towards the front door, the water was lapping against the little front lip. All this was underwater. Now we get into the backyard and you can see how this snow is all just kind of randomly taken down. Here we get into the yard a little bit more. I'm not going to go out there because it's thawed today, but you can see just massive chunks of ice. There's a full crew over at the neighbor's house. I'm afraid they lost everything. Here you can see the backyard. The water was up into all this. You can see here where it's brown. This is all silt that was actively flowing. The tree out there with the bat house on it, that stands in the shoreline, in where the shore crest is usually about 6 feet above the water. If you look, and I'm doing the best I can here, the camera's at the top of my reach. You can see the water is still pretty high. There's trees in there. If you look carefully, center frame, there's a boat out in the woods. I don't know if we can see it, but if you see blue out in the woods, that's a kayak that floated in there. I think it's center frame in the middle of those trees. There's a kayak out there. Massive chunks of ice. The table stayed, but the brown chair next to it, we had 4. We now have 2. 2 of them float away. That table, we had a couple of little stools. Somebody built it. I don't know. It was here when we moved in. The stool and a couple chairs are gone. The fire pit's completely scoured out. Where the fire pit is, just to the right, I had shoveled out to do some midwinter burning, and there was a drift that was about 4 feet high. That's all completely gone now. You'll see there's trees out there. And by trees, I mean trees knocked down. Here is the flower bed. The water was rushing through here. I posted a video earlier where it was just rushing through here like a miniature river. Out there, you see our cluster of trees. Again, that's right on the shoreline. I'm not sure if it'll get bigger or not, but if you look at those 2 trees, center frame, you'll see there's a couple rings on them. Those rings are where the water previously froze. So you can see just for those trees, the water's gone down probably a good 18 inches. I'm sorry it's not bigger, but I don't have any more boots. All my boots, most of my shoes are wet because everything in the yard was soaked. Every time I come outside, I just get soaked. There's my wife off exploring. And here we have, more of the backyard. And you see here, the water was right up and into the flower bed. You see beyond the dish, there's apple trees there. That's a good, probably 30 yards from the river. And there's just huge ice shoves. You can see how the water kind of flowed up and around between the houses. If you look at my neighbor's yard, you can see it's just still full of water. Massive ice shoves there. The water is still up over the bank flowing. And again, I can't get out here because it's so muddy. But just look at the size of that ice. You look out there by the trees, I've got some timbers that I put around. The water is up and over the edge and still flowing over the banks. Just look at the size of those ice shoves. I mean, this is just massive. So we've still got, significant water that needs to go down. It's supposed to warm up this week, so we're really afraid it's going to come back up. But our hope is that it continues to flow out faster than it can flow in. You can see here, my wife is sinking in, and that's shell ice where the water froze over, and then there's silt underneath it. You can see her punching through. It's a damn mess. I mean, if you look closely by my neighbor's pine tree, you can see how the silt is rippling from the flow. It was, in a few spots, there was essentially a riptide. When we left, we needed help getting out the driveway because it was flowing so aggressively across the driveway. So this is a quick tour. If this ever dries out, we'll go and check. But actually over there, just beyond the trampoline, is where we ended up going in on Saturday to rescue the dog. So yeah, this has been an adventure.